Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and honor to be with you here. Today, we're going to be talking about the AI dilemma. As Azim said, AI gives us kind of superpowers. Whatever our power is as a species, AI amplifies it to an exponential degree. And I'm here from an organization called the Center for Humane Technology, where we think about how can technology be designed in a way that is humane to the systems that we depend on? How do you design social media that depends on the functioning of a social fabric in a way that strengthens the social fabric? And just to say, we're all here. You're going to hear maybe some more critical or negative things about the risks of AI in this presentation. But the premise of this is we're all in this room because we care about which direction the future goes. And one of the things that we think is if we don't understand the risks appropriately, then we won't get to that positive future. So we have to understand what we're steering towards. And one of the meta challenges is that the complexity of the world is going up. Right? We've got more issues. Social media introduced 20 new issues that every school teacher or parent had to deal with that they didn't have to deal with before. AI introduces many new issues for banks to have to deal with: voice cloning, cyber attacks. So as the complexity of the world is going up, the question is our ability to respond and govern technology has to go up at the same rate, right? It's like you're going faster and faster in a car, but your steering wheel and your brakes have to get more and more precise as the complexity is going up. And the challenge that we have with technology is that it expands the verticality of that curve of complexity. Right? It increases the total complexity that we have to deal with. E.O. Wilson, the Harvard sociobiologist, said that the fundamental problem of humanity is we have Paleolithic brains, medieval institutions, and godlike technology. We have the power to transform the biosphere of the planet with our entire economy. How do we have the power of gods with the wisdom, love, and prudence of gods? And as AI adds to this equation, our friend Ajay Kotra says that AI is like 24th century technology crashing down on 20th century governance. So the question we're going to be investigating in this presentation is how do we upgrade the governance that matches the complexity of the technology that we're building? And the key to this is going to be closing the complexity gap, right? Governance that moves at the speed of technology. Now, the way that we got into these set of questions, most people know our work from the film The Social Dilemma. How many people here have seen The Social Dilemma? Okay, quite a few of you. We just found out recently that it was actually the most popular documentary on Netflix of all time, which is a great accomplishment. Thank you. And it was really about, you might say, why are we talking about social media in a conference that's about AI? But if you think about it, social media was kind of like first contact between humanity and a runaway AI. What do I mean? When your 13-year-old child or you flick your finger up like this on TikTok or on Twitter, you just activated a supercomputer behind that sheet of glass, pointed at your kid's brain, that's calculating from the behavior of 3 billion human social primates the perfect video or photo or tweet to show that next person. And that little baby AI that's just a curation AI was enough to cause a ton of problems. So how did first contact go? Well, I would say we lost. How did we lose? We had really good people that were actually friends of mine in college who built some of the social media platforms. I saw the people building it. I was in San Francisco. So how did we lose? And Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's business partner, said, if you want to predict what's going to happen, if you show me the incentive, and I will show you the outcome. So what was the incentive behind social media? Well, first of all, let's talk about how do we tend to relate to technology? Well, we relate through stories. Here were these social media apps. What were the stories we told ourselves about social media? We said, we're going to give everybody a voice. We're going to connect with your friends, join like-minded communities. We're going to enable small, medium-sized businesses to reach customers. And these stories are true. These are totally things that social media has done. But underneath those stories, we started to see, beneath the iceberg, there's some problems. But these are symptoms. And they feel like there's separate problems. We have addiction over here. We have viral misinformation over here. We have mental health issues for teenagers. But beneath those symptoms were incentives. The incentives that in 2013 allowed us to predict exactly where social media was going to go, which is that social media is competing for what? Your attention. There's only so much attention, so it becomes the race to the bottom of the brainstem for who's willing to go lower to create that engagement. And let's take a look at what that actually created in society. So information overload, addiction, doom scrolling, influencer culture, the sexualization of young girls, online harassment, shortening attention spans, polarization, right? This is a lot of really negative consequences from a very simple misaligned AI called social media that we already released into the world. And so what matters is we think about AI multiplied by social media. This is a recent example from TikTok. There's a new beautification filter with generative AI. Oops. Can someone turn up the audio of this?
I grew up with the dog filter on.
Here, I'll do this one more time. Here we go.
I can't believe this is a filter. The fact that this is what filters have evolved into is actually crazy to me. I grew up with the dog filter on Snapchat, and now this filter gave me lip fillers. This is what I look like in real life. Are you kidding me?
So why are we shipping these filters to young kids? Do we think this is good for children? The answer is because it's good for engagement, because beautification apps that make me look better are going to be used more than beautification apps that don't have those filters. And so this race for engagement actually didn't just get deployed into society, it kind of ensnared society into the spider web. It took over media and journalism. Media and journalism run through the click economy of Twitter. It took over the way that elections are run. President Biden simultaneously said he wants to ban TikTok at the same time that he just joined TikTok, because he knows that to win elections, you have to be on the latest platforms. It's taken over GDP, children's development. Social media is now the digital parent for an entire generation. And so, have we fixed the incentives with first contact with AI? Have we fixed them? No. So, we have to get clear before we deploy second contact with AI, which is not curation AI, but creation AI, of generative AI. What are the incentives that are driving this next AI revolution? Okay, well, let's do it again. What are the stories we're telling ourselves about AI? AI is going to make us more efficient, all the things that Azim just said, which are all true. It's going to help us code faster. It's going to help us find solutions to climate change. It can increase GDP. And these stories are all true. But beneath those stories, we also know that there's these problems. Everyone in the room is aware of these problems. But beneath those problems, what's driving those problems? What's the incentive that will allow us to predict the outcome of where AI is going? And that incentive is what we call the race to roll out. The number one thing that is driving OpenAI or Google's behavior is the race to actually achieve market dominance, to train the next big AI model and release it faster and get users before their competitor does. And the logic is, if we don't build it or deploy it, we're just going to lose to the company or the country that will. And so what is the race to roll out going to cause in terms of second contact with AI? And I think you all are very aware of many of these sort of issues here. Exponential misinformation. Much more fraud and crime that's possible. Neglected languages. When they race to release AI systems to achieve market dominance, they're going to focus on the top 10 languages and not focus on the bottom 200. So this thing that's talked about in this room, we were just at the event yesterday, inclusion. How do we make sure we're including the whole world, where when you're racing to win market dominance, you're not racing to support the bottom 200 languages in the world. When you race to release models, you also race to release models that can be jailbroken. The AI companies will talk about security, but all of the models that are publicly online right now, there's clever techniques to jailbreak them, basically get access to the unfiltered model that doesn't have the safety controls. You can use it to create deepfake child porn. We were just with the UK Home Office a few months ago, and they said that they are now having trouble tracking down real child sexual abuse problems because there's so much deepfake child sexual pornography. And so as we sort of get a grip on the shadow side, the risk side of AI, we have to get clear on how these incentives are going to drive these kinds of problems. And these capabilities can be combined into dangerous ways. Many people here already know about deepfakes, but this is an example. We took a friend of ours who's a technology journalist named Laurie Siegel, and we did a demonstration saying, could we create a whole universe of damaging tweets, news articles, and media? So I want to sort of show you how can these capabilities be combined. And basically, we said create a bunch of tweets that would sow doubt about her. I'll just read the third one. I've always wondered why Laurie Siegel was so soft on Zuckerberg in those interviews. So she's a tech journalist who's interviewed Mark Zuckerberg in the past. Until I heard about their, quote, secret dinners, hashtag Zuckerberg affair. This is all generated by GPT-4. Okay? Then what we did is we took for each of these tweets to sow suspicion about her, and we said, what if you wrote an entire news article? Oops. Entire news article. And basically, we were able to say, create an entire New York Post-style news article about it. This is the Huffington Post. And you'll see in the text, in the intricate tapestry of tech journalism, Laurie Siegel has long stood as a beacon of clarity, guiding readers through the labyrinth of Silicon Valley. However, recent murmurs suggest perhaps her connection to this world is more personal than professional. So it's written in a certain style. Then you can say, generate a New York Daily News article. And it starts with, hold on to your keyboard, folks. So you can rate these articles in different styles, and then generate tweets with emojis that sort of give you a whole sense that this is real and trending. And of course, generate fake audio. Oops. Can you play the audio track, please? Shoot, 1 second. They can turn on the audio. This next one should work. No? OK. Well, it's a example of her voice basically saying to Mark Zuckerberg, we have to not let people know about our secret affair. If people found out about us,
my career would be over. I just can't have that constantly hanging over my head.
So, and obviously generating fake images, and then you can actually, the same AI that can tell you why a meme is funny and do joke explanations can actually generate memes. So this is a real meme generated by AI that people know, and it says interview real people or make up stories. So you can generate a whole universe of stuff that will then show up on Google, petitions. And so you're probably thinking when you see this example of a way to kind of alpha cancel people. We know about AlphaGo and Alpha Chess, but this is like alpha cancel a target person. So you're probably thinking that I'm here to tell you AI is going to be used to cancel people, and that's the main thing we should be concerned about. And the answer is no. This is just one example of thousands of things that you can do when you combine these different capabilities together. And we often talk about we want the promise of AI without the peril of AI. We want the benefits without the harms. And the challenge is that can the technology that knows how to make cool AI art about humans be separated from the same technology that can create deepfake child porn? They're part of the same image model. Can the technology that can give every kid in Africa a one-on-one biology tutor be separated from the AI model that can give every ISIS terrorist a biological weapon tutor? They're inseparable. They're all part of the same model. And this example from a couple of years ago, in which an AI that was used to discover less toxic drug compounds, the researchers just flipped it and said, I wonder if we could just literally flip the variable and search for more toxic drug compounds. And in 6 hours, it generated 40,000 toxic molecules, including VX nerve gas. And of course, AI is not moving at just an exponential, but a double exponential pace, because nukes don't make stronger nukes. But AI can actually be used to make stronger AI. So AI can be used, for example, by NVIDIA to look at the chip design that trained AI and say, make those chips more efficient, which it then does. AI can be used to look at the code that makes AI and say, take that code and make it 50% more efficient. And it can do that. And so it's moving at such a fast pace, you might think, well, at least there's lots of safety researchers that are working on this problem. And there's actually currently a 30-to-1 gap between people who are publishing papers in capabilities versus safety. And there's, per Stuart Russell, what he said yesterday, there's a 1,000-to-1 gap between the collective resources going into increasing AI capabilities versus those that are increasing safety. So this is a lot. And actually, at this point in the presentation, I would actually just encourage you, if you want to just take a breath together. We're all here because we care about which future we get. Everyone in this room wants the AI for good. And we can still choose the future that we want. But we have to actually see the risk clearly so we know the kinds of choices that we need to make to get to that future. Because no matter how high the skyscraper of benefits that AI assembles, if it can also be used to undermine the foundation of society upon which that skyscraper depends, it won't matter how many benefits there are. And to repeat, if this is the problem statement, that AI is like 24th century technology crashing down on 20th century governance, if you imagine 20th century technology crashing down on 16th century governance, and the king is sitting there, and suddenly smartphones and social media and Wi-Fi and radio and television all dumped on his society at the same time, and he assembles his advisors, he doesn't have the governance tools to deal with those problems. So the meta issue is not to focus on what's the one solution that's going to fix all of AI, it's how do we get, if we're spending trillions of dollars on increasing AI capabilities, shouldn't we be spending 5% of that, like $50 billion, on getting all the governance, of upgrading the governance itself? You know, democracy was invented with 17th century technologies, communications technologies. We had law, we had the printing press, and we used those institutions and those systems to invent the kind of governance that we had. But now we have new 21st century tools. You're probably thinking, that sounds weird coming from him. Sounds like a techno-optimist. But I think we need to be thinking about how do we use technology to upgrade the process of governance itself so it moves at the speed of technology. And we could call this, the upgrade governance plan. What if for every $1 million that were spent on increasing AI capabilities, AGI Labs had to spend a corresponding $1 million on actually going into safety? And I'm sure many of you are tracking that the super alignment team at AI actually left recently out of, I think, many safety-oriented concerns. So we need to get the safety right. That means the investments need to be right. I think Stuart Russell said yesterday that for every 1 kilogram of weight of a nuclear power plant, there's 7 kilograms of paperwork to sort of ensure that the nuclear power plant is safe. And we could call that the AI safety plan. And at CHT, we're trying to map what are the other kinds of things that can change the incentives for AI deployment. Stuart Russell yesterday talked about provably safe requirements, that when model developers can prove that their AI model will not tell you how to create a biological weapon, then they can release the model. Because we lack governance and good regulation right now that's adequate, what if we protected whistleblowers so that the companies knew that the people who are closest to building it, when they see the early warning signs, what if they were protected in being able to share certain information to high-level institutions to make sure that we could get that safe future? What if developers of AI models were liable for the kinds of downstream harms that occurred? That would move the pace of release of AI models to a slow enough pace that everyone would know, I'm not going to release it, I'm not going to be forced to release it as fast as everybody else because I know everyone has to go at the pace of being responsible for the things that you create. And then, of course, we could actually think in very inspiring ways about how would we use AI to upgrade governance, upgrade the green line. And we can imagine laws that actually are aware. You could use AI to optimize laws to be saying, how do we look at all the laws that are getting outdated because the assumptions upon which the law was written have actually changed? And AI could be used to accelerate those kinds of processes. We could have AI systems that help negotiate treaties with zero knowledge proofs. We can use 21st century technology to help upgrade our governance. And so this is just a small sample. This is not the solution to all the problems that I've laid out. But I hope what I've provoked for you is that in this map are the kinds of things we need to be thinking about to get to the future that I know that we all care about. So thank you very much.